Hello and welcome to the DVB Newsroom. I'm Nora. Joining me in the studio today is Nandar, a theater director, writer, poet, and translator, as well as the host of the G-Taw Zagar Wyne podcast from Myanmar. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Nora.
First, can you tell me a bit more about yourself? Where do you come from in Myanmar and how did you get involved with all of these activities I have mentioned?
Thanks for the question. I was born and bred in northern Chan State, a small village in Myanmar, and I'm ethnically Nepali. And I think I was a very feminist, separate kind of woman, a girl from a young age. I always have a lot of question around why women have to do certain thing and why men have to do certain thing. And the answer would always be like, oh, because you're a girl and because they are a boy. And I think that answer didn't really satisfy me. So gradually the question became larger and larger, and I realized the problem was not happening just in my community. It was happening to other people, other community, other ethnic group around Myanmar as well. And that's when I started to realize, especially after menstruating for the first time, I realized that, oh, after menstruation, women specifically have to go through a larger issue of gender discrimination because they are women, they are expected to get married certain age, leave the schools and etc. And that's when I started to, for myself and for people around me, I started to question those norms and use my voice louder.
Yeah. It looks like everything you've done, whether it's directing theater, writing, translating, or podcasting, all seem to be focused on feminism. How did you first learn about feminism?
I didn't know the word feminism when I was already acting like a feminist, and a lot of people around me, especially my white friends and people from the West Wall, would say that, oh, you are a feminist. Did you know that? Or, you think like a feminist. And I have no familiar with the word feminism. And when I look it up, the word feminism in the school, and I realized it was full with Western context, suffrage movement, abortion rights, and all that kind of thing that I was not familiar with because I was fighting specific cultural norms and harmful cultural norms. So those things you can't really find it there from the white history. Of course, there are some African women that are challenging those norms at that time, but white feminism was predominant in the history of search, on Google or Facebook or wherever you go. And I think the word feminism kind of came to enlightenment to me, and I understood it very clearly in 2014 or 15 when I was studying and I read the book of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, Why We Should All Be Feminists. And that's precisely when I realized I need to claim the word feminist to identify myself and the work that I do. And that's why, I mean, up until before then as well, I was always doing feminist work, but I couldn't name that as feminist work because I didn't understand the word fully. But after that book, I understood quite a bit, and I took pride in calling myself feminist. And that's when I publicly announced myself that I'm a feminist activist.
Can you explain why you founded Purple Feminists Group?
Yes, the reason was, before that, I was doing activist or feminist work individually, whether be it translating the work of feminist literature or writing myself or doing other things. I was very alone in my voice. Yeah, and especially being the only Nepali feminist in a lot of room, whether in Myanmar or outside of Myanmar, when I'm speaking, I feel this sense of loneliness within my activism. And I realize that, okay, doing things alone is great. It has a lot of freedom. It has a lot of, control on how you want to say, how you want to speak. You don't have to sugarcoat anything for any organization. But then I realized there's also sort of like slow process in only doing individually. And that's when I realized when I did the Vagina Monologue show, I realized that collective work, collective feminist solidarity has a larger and quicker impact to a society. So I thought, okay, after doing the first year of Vagina Monologue, I'm like, okay, let's do the collective, sustainable, and work together with other feminists, and that's when I was inspired to start the Purple Feminist Group, which aim essentially is to dismantle the patriarchy and eradicate the sexism, misogynism that is existing till today in our culture. And it's still work in progress because there are so many things we still need to fix, and we still need to open our mind and heart to. But because culture is such a close thing in our heart, we have a hard time to let things go because it's part of our identity. If I don't do this culture thing, maybe I'm not Bama enough, maybe I'm not Nepali enough. So people are afraid to let go of their identity. Even though the culture is harmful, they think that they should keep it because they don't want to lose themselves. Yeah.
I can imagine it hasn't always been easy, especially given everything happening in Myanmar. What obstacles have you and the group had to navigate along the way?
Oh, so many things. I think one of the significant thing, and almost every woman with a voice have to go through, is that if a woman have a voice, the society already does not like it. We like women quiet. We like women who are obedient. So when women start using their voice, start um, raising their voice, we have a problem already. And I think when that happened, the first thing that the society, any society, if you look at it, if women are doing things on their own, the first thing that the society does or the community does is exclude them from that culture, that community, saying that, oh, you are ruining the culture, you are um, damaging our image of Myanmar society and Myanmar women. And I think the first thing you experience is you feel excluded from the community. You are not safe to go outside. You don't feel safe to go back to their village because people look at you differently. People look at you like a villain in a movie. And I think that was a very, very first and the hardest thing um, that I have to deal with myself to s- to be okay that not everyone will like you. In fact, that if everyone likes you, then maybe you are doing something wrong. When you're doing things that is coming from within, that is empowering within, you will invite people who don't like you, who criticize you, who will reject you. And I think the first lesson that I learned was to be okay with rejection, to be okay with not being likable to other people that are not sharing my values. So that was the first thing. And I think the second thing that follows with the exclusion was threatening women. Oh, if you say so and so, I'm gonna rape you. I'm gonna, you know, uh, do this and do that kind of murder you. Like that kind of things was very also alarmingly coming through my DMs on social media, as well as people who are outside would say things like, "Oh, you are not a good person for our daughter or for our sisters or for our mother, so stop hanging out with them. If you don't stop hanging out with them, we will do this and that to you." And I lose a lot of friends on the way, to be honest. People think that whenever I'm friends with a married woman, I will eventually encourage them to get a divorce, which I do. If they're a bad partner, if they are in a bad marriage, I would totally encourage, shamelessly encourage to get a divorce. And I think being excluded and being the alone, like a lone voice in the crowd where everyone's doesn't want you, is a very hard thing. But I think one of the things that was kind of pushing me through that challenges is this, the reason that I do what I do is because people like this exist. If people like this does not exist and does not exist, I don't have to be a feminist, Nora. I can just chill and write and sing and dance and, like, have whiskey. But now, because the the world and the society is such a patriarchal place where women speaking alone is kind of not sitting well with them. That is the reason that I'm still doing what I do. If people like that exist, I will continue to speak. That's my motto in life.
When did you launch your podcast, G-Taw Zagar Wyne? And can you explain what the name means for our non-Burmese speaking audience?
Mm. G-Taw Zagar Wyne was inspired because I was before that I was doing theater, and of course I was doing writing and public speaking a lot. But I realized that I was reaching a certain only certain um, group, which is educated people who can read Burmese, who can listen to Burmese, and who can, read in English, that kind of thing. But I realized that if I want to educated people on all levels, I also have to creatively explore all level and all tools that can reach people, different kind of audience with limited internet or who cannot read, and that sort of thing. So that's when the G-Taw Zagar Wyne podcast started. I was also very busy to write full time, like I did before. So I thought that maybe doing something that is accessible for a large kind of audience and grassroots audience would be very necessary, so that feminism is reached to those audience. And I started a podcast basing my people from village as an audience in my head, and that means that I need to simplify the language that I use, the way that I approach with the speakers that I was talking with. I need to simplify everything for them so that they understand that feminism is for everyone. Feminism is not just for, white people or educated people or elite people. It is for everyone. It is what makes the society a better place and a fairer place to live. So Jiro essentially means that I use that word because when I was younger, I was a very curious young woman. I would ask a lot of questions. I would make a lot of people uncomfortable. I would almost go into other people businesses to, understand and learn better about human in general. And I would always be called as Jiro, like Shashire Jiro, like, you have a long term, like, why are you in everyone's business? So it's like a nosy aunt, like, an aunt who is like always there, caring and checking in on everyone, what's going on, if they are okay, if they are going through a breakup, if they have enough pocket money. So I was like, okay, now is the time to claim that identity as G-Rom. Yes, G-Rom may be a bad word in the society that we live in right now, but I'm gonna take ownership and I'm gonna make it a positive word to be a G-Rom. So now my friends and I, we call each other Jiro Jiro in a very cute, loving way.
Yeah. This led to your English language podcast, Feminist Talks with Nanda. When did you start this and is it still going?
It is going. That is the last question is very important because I had been very occupied with international like speaking and like program, and also a lot of purple feminist work has been more intensified throughout these years. So it was very difficult to keep those both podcasts go on, and I'm prioritizing Jiro Zagawa because it's more professional platform. It's also where people are learning as a research, as a resource, as a story, as a platform where they can learn basic things about Myanmar women feminist approach. But with feminist talk, it's more casual. I would talk to my friends, my people, and then it would be a random topic. So that just means that the feminist talk is not as active because I haven't gotten enough time to rest and like have a light conversation yet. But moving forward this year, I aim to be active. So people can find it on Feminist Talk with Nanda on the page, and Jiro Zagawai on the SoundCloud. So it will continue this year, I promise. It will be more active than it has been, and it's also because of the coup. It has been a little bit more difficult than usual.
In 2020, the BBC named you as one of its 100 women. How did this help you in your work?
Well, that's an intense one. It's been 5 years already, but I think still till today that recognition has kind of impacted the value of my work actually. I was the same Nanda before that recognition as well. I was doing the same thing, but because of that recognition, it has um, given me sort of like a higher value in the market in a way. So in in a lot of ways, like people just want you to talk to people would just want to invite you or talk to you because you are part of that award, or you've been recognized by BBC. So I think it increases the value, but I have to emphasize that what I have been saying and what I've said has never changed. The way I speak and the way I carry my work has not changed. But the only thing that changed was the way people see the value of me and see the things that I do in a more different, higher standard in a way.
Yeah.
Mm.
And how did the 2021 military coup affect your work?
Mhm. Yeah, as I said, I think it's for everyone as well. The coup has slowed down a lot of things that you can do more actively, but also at the same time, I would like to stay positive that because of the coup, we have now become very creative in our approaches. Like 5 years ago, we wouldn't think of doing this kind of interview like this. But because of the coup, we have become more creative and more smarter actually to come up with a better solution, easier solution for all of us to do the work from far away and do it more as safely and securely. So there are pros and cons. I would say there are more cons like mental health and then security concerned, the constant electricity shortcut and like not having enough water to drink sometime, because there's no electricity, so you cannot run the engine to get water and you don't shower many days. So that really affects your physical body, mental health as well. I think this affect to almost all the average citizen as well. But one thing I want to emphasize is with the feminist work, luckily that this has been true for many years, and this will connect to I think mostly your next question about the coup has no to very little interest on women's right work in Myanmar. They are more interested in the political aspect to it or economic aspect to it. They are not really interested in the women's issue. This was true while we were having like, staying here and why the military was still in some kind of indirect power as well. They do not care what women discussion is or are about. They are more like, and that I think because of that reason you feel some sort of like a burden off your shoulder because they don't really care that much of what we are saying, but that also feels like a disrespect that they do not care the rights of women enough to see this as a threat to them. Mm.
So, from what you've seen, how has all this affected women in communities who were already struggling? What changes have you noticed?
In a positive or negative way?
Both.
But both. I a negative way, I think a lot of rape, sexual assault are happening without even having any consequences, and a lot of, especially domestic violence, are now um, more pervasive than ever before, and nobody can do anything about it. If you go to the police, you're pro-military. If you go and ask for
Okay.
help to the police, but who do you ask for? There's no safety for women, especially because of those situation that's happening in our country. And there are also unemployment, increase of unemployment. If you like 3 or 5 years ago, if you post a job, there would be only maybe 50 people maximum applying for that job. But now, if you post a job, any kind of job, you would see at least, in our case, you would see at least 200 to 300 people applying for that job. And that significantly shows that how difficult it is for people to navigate through life. But I think positively, I have to say that we can now see that more women in media, like yourself, that media are making a deliberate choice on involving the voice of women. That also, I think, particularly was affected by the revolution leaders that are in the front line, in the women that were front line. They show that women are the change maker. Women are playing significant role in Myanmar history, and now they have been noticed. They've always been part of the revolution, but this is the first time they've been noticed. And I think it's because of women like you in media who are making sure that women voices are included in the big discussion, whether be it a political, social, economic interview. Women are also going to be leading speakers. And I think those things are changing. And I think in terms of also networking and collaboration has also increased, to be completely honest, especially among NGOs. Before that, there's a sort of like a hierarchy of INGO, NGO, where you feel like the older generation would not want to collaborate with younger generation because, oh, you're still young, you're still learning, kind of limitation was there. But now I think that is removed. Now people are saying that, okay, younger people are the lead of the society. They are going to lead the society. They are leading the society. So we must include them in any kind of discussion and political dialogue that we are having. So now, as you can see, more than ever, we can see young people engaging in political dialogue and all over the social media. And I think that is the hard work of the activists and social workers from Myanmar that are making sure that positive change is increasing while the negative things are still happening.
You're cited saying that dictatorship is comparable to the patriarchy, while democracy is comparable to feminism. Now this is interesting, especially in Myanmar's context. What made you say this?
Because it's the truth. Because it's the truth. Because dictatorship cannot exist without patriarchy. If you really look at it, dictatorship and patriarchy is like the father and son in the house. If the father is patriarchal, if the father is violent, it's very likely that the son will copy that behavior and continue that, uh, can be worse than that, to the next woman that will be in their life. So patriarchy and dictatorship, both of them thrived in oppression and oppressing other people's voices, rights. And same with feminism and democracy. Feminism and democracy think about inclusion, equality, and decision making together, while the dictatorship and patriarchy do the other way around, do the opposite. So I say this almost every time I talk, but I will say this again, that dictatorship can never sustain without the patriarchal. And patriarchal exists because of the man gaze in our society, where man, everything that we see in our society, in our house, is through the lens of the man, and also through the a man's decision. So everything that's structured in our society, from household to the national level, international level, we can see that everything is designed to comfort and to make it easy for men, to make men to keep their power. So, in order for us to live in harmony and um, peaceful society, I think we must learn to see that patriarchy is a very dangerous system in our society. It doesn't let everyone to thrive as who they are. It try to keep people in boxes, and that's the most dangerous thing we can do to other human being.
You shared a speech you gave at the University of York with DVB English News, which we published on January 1st. In it, you criticized the patriarchy of the military in Myanmar, while you highlight the work of women in the pro-democracy movement. How important is it to raise awareness in the UK and around the world about women's issues in Myanmar?
That's a good question, actually. I think it's important, particularly in the UK, as someone who have been there, who had been there. I realized very quickly that as soon as we are from Asia in general, Southeast Asia, but from Myanmar, their assumption is that we are someone who needs saving, who need a white person to help us, to educate us, to create opportunity for us. And because of that colonial mindset that the white people in general have, it was very important for me to make sure that I am not presenting Myanmar situation and Myanmar women in a Tanasia Kaune shoodown gani. I didn't want them to see women's and our people in general in a pity situation, like, oh, we need saving, we need help, kind of. No, we are doing things on our own. We have the capacity within us. It's all inside us that we can do. What we need is not saviorism. What we need is solidarity, sympathy, and collaboration. We do not need handouts from white people or any other people. We can do it on our by ourselves. But also quickly when I arrived there, I realized that people just see us as people who don't know how to do things, who don't have understanding of politics or economics or social work. And I think that became very dangerous narrative in their head. So for me, my job was giving that speech. I was very mindful about writing that speech because I wanted to make sure that, okay, I'm presenting the truth about the Myanmar, but meanwhile, I'm presenting in a tone, in a narrative that does not look down on our people and on our contribution. So it was a very deliberate choice to make that we present our people and country situation, but we did not make ourselves small because we are not small people. We are a capable people who can do things on our own. We are just there to collaborate and to exchange knowledge and to ask for solidarity. Yeah, that's why I had to do that.
Yeah. From your perspective, what meaningful ways can people outside Myanmar stand with women there right now? What kind of support actually makes a difference?
Oh, there are so many ways to support, to be honest, like creating scholarship opportunities for the university student that are dying to go to university but cannot go here. And there are also ways to create collaborative approach to work, giving funding, for example, to organization, either news agency or INGO, CSO, and making sure that those funding are flexible and not rigid, like on not tight, like right, having to write 10 report or 15 paper. It's not helpful like that. If we really want to help, we also have to come up with an approach that is feasible for the people who are doing the groundwork. So, and I think uh, I don't believe in statements like people putting out statements so and so, so and so. I don't think statement do anything. But what I would encourage is talking to a friend, being a good friend, being a good listener to those friends that you are talking to without judging and saving them. Listening is also very helpful for mentally. I have a friend I talk to every day about the situation, every single thing that happened in the country, and she listened, and I feel better in a way, even though I know that there's nothing she can do. Sometimes you don't have to do anything. Just being there and listening is quite an okay thing to do as well, quite a cool thing to do as well. And lastly, I would say that no matter who you are, in which part of the country you are living, make sure that you are sharing the right information of the situation. Do not share disinformation, misinformation on social media and mislead the conversation, mislead the situation. Don't contaminate the information. So make sure that you're following the right news agency and you're following the right person who is speaking the right and truth information about what's going on. Because if you don't have the right information, it would be very difficult for you to be the right person to support other people. So um, I think these are some of the things that you can do to help and support and show solidarity with any country, really. But for Myanmar, that would be my request.
You were selected for the CAHR Protective Writing Fellowship at the University of York. How was that? What are you working on now?
While I was there, my main job was to rest and respite. The whole program was to make sure that we are resting. As an activist, we don't rest enough. We are always constantly, if we're not walking, we are thinking. If we're not thinking, we are doing. So it's a circle of unrestful journey as activists. I think everyone knows that as well. Um, but while we were there, we were also given the opportunity to write any topic that we want to write. So right now, I'm focusing on, I'm not going to say it publicly, but I'm focusing on a history of my family and the journey of, like, the role of men in my family, both mother side and father side, and the role of women in my mother and father side, and how their role and our role has changed and what helped that change to happen. So it's really going back to my history, family tree, but going through that journey with a with a feminist lens, intersectional feminist lens, and to really figure out if we were male dominated family or female dominated family. So it's either patriarchy or matriarchy or neither. So I want to understand that. So I've been doing a lot of research, and it was a work in progress, um, that I did in York as well. Just really being introspective and going back to my family tree and understanding why I'm a feminist as well, to be completely honest, that maybe there's some part of my family that has been a feminist, that had been a feminist before, and I didn't really get the story of it. So I'm talking to almost all of my family members to get the different aspect of the history of the correct information. So it's still in progress. I'm also writing poetry time to time, about politics, family, love, heartbreak, mental health, all of those things. So, and Purple Feminist work is also ongoing. I'm doing that. I also am going to take a part in a lot of conferences and forums in this year, coming year. So it's exciting and exhausting at the same time.
As we wrap up, how can people find your work? Are you on social media, or is there another way for Myanmar people to read your writing or listen to your podcast?
Thank you. You can just go to Feminist Talk with Nanda. I'll send the link to you so that you can put it down. And I am on Instagram and Facebook. So just come there. You will get plenty of feminist lecture and funny things and exciting thing and serious thing there. So if you are there, you will find everything else that you need about me.
Thanks so much for your time. I think more people in Myanmar need to learn about feminism and the role women have played in the country's pro-democracy movement.
I absolutely agree with you. Thank you for having me. It's been a lovely feminist journey talking to you at DVB.